I used the odd one out strategy and the give me 5 strategy. All right, so start today off, we're going to do activity with parabolas. This will be our final activity for parabolas, just to see how much you remember about the rules and what A affects, what B affects, what C affects. So give me 5 things that we learned about parabolas so far. Raise your hand. All right, Brandon, give me 1.
If A is positive, it looks like a smiley face.
Okay, if A is positive, it opens upward, kind of like a smiley face, okay? Skylar.
B moves the parabola left or right.
Okay, if there is a B, it will move the parabola left and right. Which number?
Isn't it A, right?
A. All right, if A gets bigger than 1, it makes your picture a little bit skinnier. All right, Nick?
C makes it move up and down.
C makes it move up and down. Any others? All right?
If A is negative, it makes it go down.
Okay, just like if A is positive, it opens upward. If A is negative, then it opens downward. Same thing goes for what Michaela said. If A was bigger than 1, it made it really skinny. If A is smaller than 1, then
Makes it fat.
it makes it wider or fatter, yeah. Okay? So you've kind of got an idea of what your graph should look like. We've sketched some, we've graphed some, we've solved some. As a review lesson, after we had already talked about the topic, I found that the Give Me 5 is a good quick review to get them back thinking on the topic, given big ideas, basically, of the topic. And then the odd one out made them refine their knowledge and really get down to the small details about that topic to find the differences in the row or find the odd one out. We're going to do an activity called Odd One Out, okay? And I have a sheet here, and it has multiple problems on each row. Your job is to determine which one is the odd one out, okay? So there's 3 on each row. Which one is different? And then explain your reasoning. Why is it different? Okay? Don't just say the first one's different because it's different. Is there only one way that one is different? No. This group might choose this one, okay? This group might choose the middle one. This group might choose the last one. If you can justify your reasoning of why it's different than the other 2, then that is fine. Of the lesson was to identify how the coefficients A and C in a quadratic equation affect how the graph of the parabola looks. And so by making them look at each graph and say what's different about this one in equation form, told me not only did they know it in equation form, but also they knew it in graph form.
I just put because it'll be negative.
Right.
Me too.
This is B, and it would be negative, which would make the parabola move to the right on the graph.
So basically,
All the
it
other
would
ones
be
would move left.
negative. So it would be negative.
Okay, this one I think the last one because it'll end up in a fraction.
That doesn't matter.
The other ones won't end up in fraction. It does matter.
Where's the color?
Because it end up in a fraction.
Okay, well, why would the fraction make it look different than the others?
Because it's not a whole number.
Okay, but what does that mean? What does a fraction do differently than a whole number?
This is for B, which makes them move left and right, right?
What does it do?
Like, in the problem, you would have
You have to change the problem if it's a fraction.
A
don't you?
times
You have
X,
to change
and
them
you'd
all
have
fractions, right?
B times X squared, and then C, right? And the B times X squared makes it move left and right.
I think some of the choices I made with the odd one out strategy in particular is that I made it so not just one was odd one out, but any of the 3 choices could have been chosen for odd one out, and that gave an opportunity for them to discuss and kind of justify their reasoning. So maybe group 1 picked the first box as the odd one out, and another group picked the third box as the odd one out. And what happened was good dialogue between the groups and within the groups justifying what was wrong with it or why it was different. So I like the fact that I chose it that way so it would promote more dialogue instead of just saying this one because it has a fraction or this one because it's negative. There was a lot more detail involved.
Because it's positive. Or it could be the first one because it has a number before the X.
Last one because
It's got a coefficient before the X.
Okay. Yeah, do the first one. Guys, what does A being the negative mean again? It means that it'll be a friendly face emoji?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I want you to do is while these last few people are finishing up, if you would, look at your paper, the ones that you have chosen, and like I said, there might be a different one on that same row that could be justified. Meaning, like number 1, some of you may have chosen the first one and given a reason. Other groups might have chosen the last one and given a reason. Choose one that you think could have had more than one answer and be ready to argue that side of it.
What does the B make it do?
B makes it. B can move your parabola left and right.
So it's negative, so we can
Go
put,
to the left.
yeah, go to the left.
Oh, wait, when
It's
it go to the
positive.
right?
It's positive, go to the
If
left.
the base,
Positive goes to the left.
and
Negative
negative
goes to the right. Right?
and then right.
I think that's what I got in my notebook.
It's the opposite. I know that. Whatever.
So then,
Yeah.
yeah, positive
right,
to left,
right,
negative to the right.
left.
So, I'm going to talk with each group and ask you some questions, and y'all share what you got for them, okay? Number 1. Who wants to share their number 1? Okay. So the first one, A was negative, and why would that make that picture different than the others? Hold on. Okay, the parabola would be upside down versus the other two, which would be right side up. Okay. Who has? Maybe you chose that one as well, but how many of you thought of another one that might would work for that particular line, other than the third one? Did anybody come up with another one that would work? All right, Michaela?
The first one would be fat
Okay, the first one would be fat. Why?
because it's bigger than one. Well, it's smaller than one. Well, it's one. Oh no, it'd be normal. It would be normal. 'Cause
Okay.
it's one.
All right, so another one that could have worked for that one is that the first one, because it did not have a coefficient, therefore it was the normal parabola, versus the other two that had coefficients, that would make them what?
Skinny or fat?
Skinny or fat, and in this case, since they were bigger than one, they would be skinny. Number 2, who wants to share what they put for number 2? Oh. All right, and because it's a fraction and not a whole number, what does it do? Okay, the parabola will be wider. Very good. At the moment, I didn't notice as much difference in what I expected to happen and what did happen. But afterwards, in the weeks following, and even now as we review for the end of the year, I noticed that they really still have those concepts that we practiced that day, really deep understanding of that, because they can still tell me to this day about that topic, whereas other topics, it has slipped their memory, or so I think I could tell a difference there because they remember.